This piece of shit. I'll show you exactly how wizards use. Oh, watch this shit, man. Let's talk about it. There's still 3,000 people here. If that doesn't give you hope, I don't know what does. Because the more we build our foundations, the more they can't trick us. I'll tell you one story and then I'll get into this. It's only 10 o'clock. It's fine. It's Friday night. You know, Amy's cool with all this shit. Some dudes go out on Friday nights. I never go out. I've never been to a bar since we've been here alone or like buddies. You know, me and my buddy down the street will have beers. But, so me and the cast of Sullivan and Son, we're on a sitcom for 3 years. A lot of people don't know we're on, but we're the #1 sitcom on TBS for 3 years. And we were at a baseball game, and we were like front row, you know, all hooked up. And my buddy, who's on the show, goes to one of the people, like just a random guy, and he goes, "Hey, will you take a picture of me?" And the guy just goes, "Of just you?" And he's like, yeah, I just want a picture. And he didn't even realize the "of just you" of how profound that was. It's like, you're just you though? And at that moment, I saw such clarity where I'm like, there's so many people in this world that don't live our shitty lifestyle, that like, they have a life. They don't need the Instagram picture. Like he wasn't being mean. He was surprised. He was like, "Of just you?" In his world, it's like you take pictures with your friends, your family. You know, it's not about you being front row at a Yankees game. You know, and that changed my. It's so weird how like little moments will change your life, and it's like that's how you beat all this shit. Is you just live a life where you can say, "Of just you," and you know, I don't know. You either get with that what I'm saying or not. All right, let's watch a little of this and just talk about how we beat this and how this happens.
His co-workers suspected he was a witch. As a Bevan boy, Jimmy Savile's fellow miners thought Jimmy Savile was a witch.
Now then, nobody but nobody ever did 8 hours down a pit and came back as immaculate as the set-off with white shirt and everything like that. They were quite convinced I was a witch. If you go to South Kirby now, you'll get somebody else.
But do you see the laughs? That's the shit you got to watch out for. Like, watch out for, like, when people use comedy to avoid truth. When they're like, they were convinced I was a witch. Meanwhile, he's got a body count of kids he rapes. He is a witch. And he's using comedy to say the truth. He's saying reality, but he's getting laughs. That's why I'm so against sarcasm right now, where it's like, because sarcasm is almost like you're speaking the word of the devil, but it's socially acceptable because people think you're joking. It's so weird, dude. It's so like...
Minus, when you say, "Jimmy Savile's done well, hasn't it?" Ah, and you'll look around and you'll say, "He's not what you think you know." The forces of darkness are at work there.
They were, though. It's so fucking dark, man. This is why I'm against sarcasm. People think that's weird. And they're like, "Why do you care so much about sarcasm?" It's because I've watched as many Jimmy Savile documentaries as there are on YouTube. Because I need to understand how someone can be put in charge of children and given all the power of the British government, who's constantly raping everyone's kids. It didn't just start with the Muzzies, guys. Power feeds on innocence. And it's like, because I'm not satisfied with, you know, I was for a few months of like just saying, "Can you believe this shit?" You know, and mocking it and mocking like this dehumanization and this like lack of protection of children. I want to beat them. That's why some people are trying to distance themselves from me right now, because I'm questioning narratives that don't go along with their politics, and I'm like, you know, my friendships with certain other people that are more like hardcore nationalists or whatever. I'm like, dude, I'm here to win. I'm not just gonna mock shit as it takes over. You know, and my mind is open to like what will beat the people that do this. A lot of these people didn't go to prison. I mean, the Queen of England was caught smuggling children out of Canada. Who the fuck cares someone's opinion on Brexit or so? You know, like, people's priorities are so fucked up, man. I think, like, I don't know. Let's watch a little more of this and then we'll call it.
He had influence over people from all walks of life.
A stray television crew, a dozen reporters, 1,000 autographs. He attracts attention like a Roman candle. Jimmy Savile feeds off people.
Jimmy Savile liked to mix with people from all walks of life. By day, crisscrossing the country to meet the man on the street, and by night, hobnobbing with the rich, famous, and influential. Here are just a few of the people he knew or had associated with. The Beatles, Peter Sutcliffe, the Pope, Ephraim Katzir, Elvis, Esther Ranson, Margaret Thatcher, Ted Heath, Gary Glitter, Norman Tebbit.
I remember so well you at Stoke.
Diana Spencer, Prince Charles, Prince Philip, Frank Bruno, Alan Franey, and many, many, many police chiefs. Savile was also a Knight of Malta, a Knight Commander of St. Gregory, and a Knight of the Realm. Jimmy Savile seemed to know everybody, yet nobody seemed to know Jimmy Savile. Publicly, he played the part of court jester, but privately, he held an almost Jedi-like position of influence over the highest and lowest life forms of British society. What was it that made Savile so popular? Was it his looks, his wit, or his charm? Or was it something more sinister? In October 2012, the Sunday Sport, the only British newspaper still bold enough to print uncensored stories, quoted Savile discussing how he discovered he could hypnotise girls.
To demonstrate, you'll see, and choosing a girl who was already fast asleep in her easy chair, I stood behind her, passing my...
Guys, this guy had a children's show. They hide in plain sight. And so you can be like the retard crowd from Pierce Morgan and clap when it's safe and Savile's dead. Or you can look at who's hiding in plain sight. Why do you think I'm so fucking, you know, I don't know what the word is, ostracized? Because it's like they know the eyes of people looking for the people. You know, they know what it looks like. It's like, I'm not here to like retroactively be like, oh, that guy sucked. No, fuck that. These guys are right here, right now. And there's a bunch of them, man. There's a bunch of, because the ultimate secret is pedophilia. That's why these motherfuckers rise. You know, you get somebody in the royal family, you get a prime minister, you get some bankers and shit. Jimmy Savile had all this power because he knew their secrets. He gave them kids. How the fuck do people live with themselves with this shit? It's the dregs of society like me and Johnny Rotten that actually are saying what needs to be said. It's so fucking stupid. We're never going to be knighted.
Well, as first her mother, then her father, you'll see, and finally boyfriend. We had a lively patter going. I was convinced she was awake, you'll see, and just playing along with me. Taking again the part of her mother and asking her what she was doing in bed with all her clothes on, sweet horror, did she not stand up, you see, and start to undress, telling her to stop, and in the nick of time, as it had been...
This is in the fucking main newspaper in England, guys. The reason I'm like pointing all this shit out is because like it's still happening. Like this was in the newspaper. This person is reading this. They're dramatizing it. It was in the newspaper while he was alive and not in prison. Like, look around at what's happening right now. Bill Nye talking about 2-year-olds choosing their gender and then doing My Sex Junk songs on his fucking Netflix special about science. It's right there. But like when you say who it is now, who has the power, because Satan has all the power in the world, you know? God has to be that dad, like hoping you do the right thing. Satan is here right now giving you the candy, man. It's happening right now.
Warm evening, she was handed to her girlfriend with instructions to be put to her bed. The next morning, you see, expecting to be denounced and dismissed, I was shattered with relief when she stood next to me in the breakfast queue and gave not the slightest sign of recognition, you see. Now then, years later, in the Isle of Man, I met Joseph Karma, one of the great hypnotists. Telling him the story, he was not surprised, you see, and suggested I should study under him and not finish up in the Nick.
Just watch a couple more minutes. I just want people to know about this motherfucker. Because it's like, it's the textbook authority, power, monster guy. This is what they do. They get a position where they can't be questioned. And then anyone who questions
The Isle of
them,
Man is well known as the centre of Wicca in Britain, where Gerald Gardner, the father of modern witchcraft, ran a museum devoted to the faith.
What I remember so well is taking him into the Palace of Westminster. I've taken many guests in over the years, but he's the only one who was simply waved through security.
He used magical signs and language. Let's analyse the phrase jingle jangle. It can be broken down into two words. Jingle, a catchy array of words in prose or verse, and jangle, which means to chatter, argue noisily, or whine. Although both share the same Germanic root, jengelin, jingle evolved to mean a catchy song in an advert, and jangle to mean a whiny or discordant sound. However, we have also noted the yin-yang, phonetic, abstract, onomatopoeic nature of the phrase. Jingle jangle is also an autological phrase. It describes itself. It is both a jingle and a jangle.
In the occult world, language is an extremely powerful tool. Since ancient times, magic words have been used by magicians to cast spells and invoke spirits. Some are well known to us now, but others have remained obscured through the ages by the secret groups who still use them to this day. This is why we spell words.
spelling.
Take a word like abracadabra.
Abracadabra is an incantation used as a magic word in stage magic tricks. The first known mention of the word was in the 3rd century AD in a book called Liber Medicinalis. During the Great Plague, Londoners were said to have posted the word on their doorways to ward off sickness. Aleister Crowley, the infamous magician, regarded it as possessing great power. He said its true form is abrahadabra. So even a seemingly harmless word can have a more deep and esoteric meaning, and a much more powerful and potentially harmful effect than presumed.
It all depends on the intention.
When words are repeated 3 times, it is said to increase the effectiveness of the phrase. This is an ancient belief known to us as the Rule of 3. Its use is largely unconscious. We prefer things in threes. It suggests wholeness or completeness.
And I'll explain a little of this, and then I'm out of here. But it's because we fixate subconsciously on things that we can't solve, or things that don't fit in our premises, right? That's why the big lie is so important. That's why when they get you to believe something that isn't true, it makes you hypnotized. It's because your subconscious doesn't stop trying to do it. It's almost like, have you ever had a computer and like the hard drive won't fall asleep? It's just like, it's like it's trying to figure something out and it just won't stop. If you have your focus, it's just like magic, like a magician. If you have your focus somewhere else, that's when the, what's it called? Not triage. It's there's a term for it when they do the trick. And so words like abracadabra, abraharaba, or whatever the fuck that is, they're structured so that it flips and flops and makes your subconscious busy. And then 3, like the 3 is a holy number, and it's also an evil number. It's holy, and it's also used to like trick people because it's odd and you can't fit it together properly. Like triangles are different than squares. And I know I sound a little crazy to some people, but like people with high cognitive pattern recognition ability will listen to what I'm saying right now and they understand what I'm saying. It's like hypnotism is fucking real. And it's like mass hypnotism is real, and saying like Martin Luther King Jr., free at last, thank God Almighty we are free at last. Like saying free 3 times will make it so he could say anything and you just explode. I'll show you one thing from my set, because I never knew I was a part of any of this, guys. I never knew that I had the skills to be psychotic. And it makes me have I can't stop trying to show it to people. It's like I feel obligated morally because I like see other people do this shit to like manipulate. That's why the deep state recruits comedians. Trevor Noah, Amy Schumer, these people, it's like John Lennon. Oh, that show, I did almost 3 hours. And I kind of want to release the full thing because I gave them so much shit about Jimmy Savile. And I like edited out that whole run because I had to, back then I always thought that like comedy sets had to be 1 hour. And so I had to cut out 2 hours. So I had to take out like so much crowd work. And I kept mocking them for like Jimmy Savile. And one of the things was like, imagine there's no hell below us. It's like, well, where the hell's Jimmy Savile? That was in like a different version because I did 2 shows that night. I was literally just being like, how did you let Jimmy Savile do that? And they were just laughing. And I'm like, no, but seriously, like he was killing and fucking all your kids. And they were just like laughing and clapping. And it's pretty interesting stuff. What do you guys want to hear? That's funny. Jimmy Savile in hell. I know. I was like, well, I did a whole thing that Jimmy Savile was in hell, but Hitler was in heaven. Where I'm like, imagine there's no heaven. I'm like, then where's Hitler? It's like no hell below us. It's like, then where's Jimmy Savile? Because I was saying that I wanted Hitler to beat England. Because I like go at people when I go to their place. Right? Like if you're going to talk about Hitler being awesome, the best place to do is England. Because Hitler killed like millions of them. And, I thought it was really funny. What do you guys want to hear? What's your favorite song? I have so many. Cool Keeper, thank you very much. What are the deep details of Savile? Oh, dude, don't even get involved with Savile unless you want nightmares. Jimmy Savile he was let me tell you a little bit about Jimmy Savile. Jimmy Savile was a children's performer. He had a children's show in England. And it was so popular and he was so connected to the royal family. Hang on. That they knighted him. He was Sir Jimmy Savile. And he did this. This is when I first really started understanding the evil of mockery, the evil of comedy. Like comedy can be legitimately evil. Jimmy Savile was giving an interview. I got to play it for you guys. It's so profound when you see it. When he's joking about being a wizard. You'll see. This is perfect to show you guys right now. Jimmy Savile, wizard. What was he joking about? Was Jimmy Savile a wizard? Here we go. Let me download this. I'm sure people in the chat have already kind of updated people that don't know. Jimmy Savile raped and tortured and murdered thousands of children. And then people would be like, it was only 500. No, it's confirmed 500. The guy had his own hospital where he would rape and kill children with Down syndrome, dying children. He would rape them as they died. And I'm only saying that, I take no joy in that, obviously. It's that you have to understand how awful, like just truly dark this world can be. You know, there's no virtue in pretending that you don't understand shit. You know, people do that all the time now. They're like, well, I didn't know. Well, I'm explaining it to you then. Hang on a second. This is taking a second. There's wizardry around this. And just know that the best thing you can do is speak this stuff for his victims. That's the best thing you can do. So that way people know the story and they didn't just die anonymously. As someone said that he was just a knight. He was very close to the Prince of England. He was very close to the Queen. He was close to all the BBC. Johnny Rotten said from the Sex Pistols said that Jimmy Savile was a pedophile, and they wouldn't let him play on the BBC. Does that sound familiar? People that abuse kids won't let you near a microphone if you're willing to call them out. I'll show you that video. Let's start with that video real quick. I don't care if they take this down. Just hey guys, by the way, always feel free to cut up my videos and use the clips. Start clips channels. Owen Benjamin clips channels makes base texting bank now. Not like bank, but I'm fine with it. Spread the word. I know these are long as hell and there's a lot of good sections. Start clips channels. They'll get hits. Like my clips channel videos that base texting does gets they average 20,000 views. Over time, that really, you can make some real money on that. Because no one really actually a lot of people, but when I said no one, that wasn't true. I was trying to be false humble. A lot of people don't want to watch 3 full hours, so they want clips. All right, Jimmy Savile, Pierce Morgan. This pretty much encapsulates everything that I've went through in the last couple years here. It's like the powers that be are pedophiles, and they kill kids because that's why Jimmy Savile, they would kill so many children, is because they can't have witnesses. When you have the Prince of England raping children, they can't have witnesses. So they would go out on their boat. There was this one boat that Savile would always use, and he would. And that's how they get rid of children's bodies that were just raped by the royal family and then killed. And for those of you thinking that this is just dark, like me being dark, this is all real. You can just look any of this up. It's not taught anywhere because our schools are run by pedophiles. Watch this shit.
Included on a pill album. And you were talking about making a film where you kill famous people. Now, it's never been played on television before, but it has a particular relevance. Let's listen to this.
So who else is on the goner list?
Oh, it's endless, believe me. I just want to make a film of it. On film, I'd like to kill Jimmy Savile. I think he's a hypocrite.
Weren't I right?
I bet he's into all kinds of seediness that we all know about but are not allowed to talk about. I know some rumours. I bet none of this will be allowed out.
I should imagine libelous stuff will be allowed out.
Nothing I said is libel.
Those fucking hypocrites clapping, none of them would clap when the kids were actually being hurt and killed. None of them. They're only clapping because the dragon's gone now and they feel safe. It's fucking losers.
Sounds a bit harsh doing death list there.
Well, but actually,
sometimes you're contentious in life just because you're bored of that.
But put aside the rhetoric you were using. The fact that in 1978, at the height of the Sex Pistols explosion, there you are saying about Jimmy Savile, he was into all kinds of seediness that we all knew about. We weren't allowed to talk about it. I know some rumors. So you had heard the kind of thing that we now know about him, or stuff like that?
Yeah. I think most kids did too. Most kids wanted to go to the top of the pops, but we all knew what that cigar muncher was up to. But
and you can tell that Johnny doesn't even take pleasure in the crowd clapping. You know that he's like, where were you guys when they were being killed? See, that's the weird thing about like punk rockers and metal rockers and some people that you would never guess are the moral backbone of a society. Johnny Rotten from the Sex Pistols had more morality than all the police, all the firefighters, all the BBC and the government and all of them, all the media. And it reminds me a bit of Tommy Robinson, where it's like this like soccer hooligan character from just this random place is the only one saying shit about anything. And it's like the crowd is like, brave, brave. No, wait till you hear what they did to him. And he's taking no joy from that crowd. I'm sure he despises them for the cowardice. That they now are comfortable enough to clap. This is very close to my heart right now, I'll tell you that.
very, very bitter that the likes of Savile and the rest of them were allowed to continue.
And here's the thing that Johnny Rotten is explaining right now. He's like, everyone knew. Like, look at all the things we all know right now. Everyone knows. It wasn't that he was had some inside information about Savile. He just spoke truth to power, and no one else fucking would. Listen to it. And he gives him a little shot about that cigar muncher. Listen to this. Because that's kind of like what you do. Like when you're part of a working class, abused type upbringing, you don't say like pedophile, this child abuser. You call him like a faggot or like a cigar muncher. Because that's just culturally what you do. You're just like, you take a shot at him. You emasculate him. It's fascinating to watch. I'm a big fan of Johnny Rotten from this.
At the height of the Sex Pistols explosion, there you are saying about Jimmy Savile, he was into all kinds of seediness that we all knew about. We weren't allowed to talk about it. I know some rumors. So you had heard the kind of thing that we now know about him, or stuff like that?
Yeah. I think most kids did too. Most kids wanted to go to the top of the pops, but we all knew what that cigar muncher was up to.
By the way, someone just said in the chat, like, Tommy Robinson isn't a soccer hooligan. He's a true patriot. I've literally wrote him a song, guys. I know he's a true patriot. He's like a heroic, brave, awesome man. When I just said that about soccer hooligan, my whole point is you never know where it's going to come from. You never know who the hero is. The hero doesn't come with a name tag that says hero. Tommy Robinson acts and talks like a blue collar. I don't even know what the fuck soccer hooligan is. I don't watch soccer because I'm not a fag. But like, I'm just trying to describe a person that was one of the only people to stand up for women and children in an abusive situation. So whoever said that can go fuck themselves.
But I'm very, very bitter that the likes of Savile and the rest of them were allowed to continue.
Did you ever try and do anything about Savile?
I did my bit. I said what I had to.
Did they air that? No. It just got suppressed.
Yeah.
For legal reasons.
Yeah. And
did you meet?
I found myself being banned from BBC Radio there for quite a while for my contentious behaviour.
Guys?
Because of that,
they wouldn't state this stuff.
They banned him from BBC Radio because of what he said about Jimmy Savile. Jimmy Savile was he was connected. He was absolutely one of the most powerful people in England. He was a children's performer. He had a children's show. He had his own charity hospital where he'd rape and kill kids, and he would provide children for the elite to rape and kill. And I'm not pulling any punches here. And what I'm saying is 100% true. And to see people like argue about how many kids it was and whether or not he killed them or just raped them to death, it's disgusting, guys. It's like, if that's what makes you feel good at night, fine. But like, what Johnny says right here, and it's so important. He goes, I did my bit. I said it. That is his bit. If more people did that, there is no Jimmy Savile. Jimmy Savile is ripped apart by the villagers. Jimmy Savile will have his neck ripped out. That's why there was an era when like wizards and witches and these people that did this to our children, people just got together and just ripped them apart. Like you didn't speak that. You didn't like, and that's why wizardry has gotten so insane is they're trying to make it so you can't even say pedophilia is bad. And he's like, Johnny Rotten's like, I did my part. And he's from a band, a punk band called the Sex Pistols. That's what I'm saying about hypocrisy, man. It's like, that's the moral guy.
Actually, there'd be other excuses.
I mean, it's shocking.
Oh, yeah.
He got away with it for another 30-odd years.
Well, not only him, but a whole bunch of them. And these are the purveyors of good taste, huh?
You were too offensive.
Brilliant, isn't it? Well, I'm still here, and the rest of them, what are still alive, nice bit of jail time for them. Jail time.
How about that? He goes, he's like, I'm still here. The rest of them got a bit of jail time for them. It's like the amount of people in the House of Commons and the House of Lords that got arrested for pedophilia in connection to this. And it's a miracle that people even found out about Jimmy Savile. People like Jimmy Savile go down all the time, like the Steven Spielbergs of the world and these guys. No one will even know what they've done. Think about how many people have lived and died with power, and they've done all this shit, allegedly about Spielberg. I don't want to get sued for my keyboard and my fire. But no one will even know what they did. And fortunately, Savile got outed, and all these powerful people in England got outed. And poor Johnny Rotten, they told him he couldn't be on the BBC anymore, and he had like all these huge hits, and they wouldn't even play them because of what he said about Savile. And those same people, like the head of the BBC that did that to him, is now the head of the New York Times. The CEO of the New York Times was in charge of the BBC when he shut down Johnny Rotten. There's no justice for these people. These people get promoted. The guy at the BBC that silenced a whistleblower on a child rape syndicate is now in charge of the New York Times. Just let that sink in. And I know a lot of this shit. I don't like talk about this on Instagram because I like to keep it more mellow about the moon. You know, the moon is an analogy. The moon is a metaphor. The moon is a symbolic of the entire point I'm trying to make, but it doesn't have raped kids at the bottom of the English Channel. You know, I don't want that on my shit all day long to like, you know, there's like sweet people that follow me and I don't want them to have to deal with that. I'm addressing government lies. And once you break that mold in your mind, when you're like, oh, these people will lie and kill and rape and torture for like a nugget of power. And then you realize they'll do it for fun.
I have to read this. The BBC has said it's appalled by Savile's crimes and that the Dame Janet Smith Review is considering the culture and practices of the BBC during that period.
I've been getting away with it all my life. Getting away with it.
Yeah, Johnny Rotten's legit. That's why don't judge a book by its cover. It's like, I've met some people, like some of the most moral people I know are like truck drivers and dudes that have been to prison. Dudes that like, you can't judge a book by its cover. And some of the worst, most horrifying people I know. And by the way, yeah, I have Apple, but I filled in the byte. You guys notice that? The world's run by symbols. I'm not going to have the Apple byte on my computer. So I filled it in with a marker. Do you know how powerful that is? To make it a whole apple and not make it about man's fall? Because I like Apple. I tried doing Android with the Bear phone, and I couldn't even text back to people. It was insane. I couldn't stand Android. And Alex Jones told me that iPhones and Apple are all getting hacked by China. But dude, fucking everything's being hacked by everyone. Look up the fucking NSA. It's like there's no way out. The only way out is symbol. It's like I'm not going to have a bitmap on my computer. And it's as easy as a marker. And so many people have never even thought of that. It's like just use a marker. Just fill it in. All right, so let's take a look at Savile.